First, I'm going to just speak for a couple.
Okay, sure, yeah. So, let's go bow in and
So, what I'm going to demonstrate tonight, some of you saw some of it last week, is and Joanna, you'll have to tell me if I'm speaking loud enough for that, is how I work with Aikido, taking it from this, what I call the training mat to the big mat, which is our community. And I'll show several examples of that and try to draw a connection between the two. The first thing I want to work with a little bit is what I, as nearly as I can tell, was a huge piece of Sensei's work, which was the inner work, the purification work, the settling work that he did with himself to be ready, whether it's on the mat or out in the community, where he would demonstrate what he was doing in various ways. So, with apologies to a few of you who did this last week, I'm going to do that same exercise again. I'd like you to ask you to go inside yourself for a moment, anyone in the room, and think of some moment, not too long ago, when you were annoyed. Not the most annoying thing that ever happened to you, but something that was annoying. You could nod your head when you have something. Everybody got something? And then I want you to notice, as you hold that in your mind, what do you feel in your body? Anybody can speak who wants to, if you care to say. What do you notice?
I experience a tightness.
Tightness. Anybody else?
Same, abdominal.
Abdominal.
My jaw's tightening up.
Jaw's tight. Very often there's a tightening or a constricting feeling.
somebody breathing.
Yes. Here, 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 often in the core. So now I'm going to ask you to do something different. Let go of that one. And I want you to draw your mind toward a moment when you felt a sense of grace or a sense of gratitude, something really good that happened some time back, where you just felt, wow, this is great. Can you get that in your mind? You can nod when you're ready. Yeah? Got something? What do you notice in your body right now as you hold that?
Expansion.
Expansion. Opposite of contraction. Anybody else?
Relaxation, openness.
Uh-huh.
My
So,
body's starting to pulse instead of
it's
Stop.
ceasing up. What was your word for it?
pulse.
Pulse, yeah. So, this is a very old skill. And O-sensei said one time, you know, it's not that I don't get off balance, it's just that I correct really quickly. He was doing that in himself all the time, finding, he might not have called it in quite the same words that I just did here, but finding a way to get back to that place where he's open here, a relaxation, a place where he had more fluidity. So we can use that to settle our nervous system wherever we are and be ready for whatever we're going to do. So in Aikido, we have these three words, Aikido, and Michelle was talking about it, it's like a house of a teapot with a roof and everything connected. Connection. I think about what my work is to do connection. So I practice it on the Aikido mat, and I take it out into the practice in the big world. So, Lauren, with your permission, do some of what we did last time. First, we'll start with Taino Henko, please. So, his perspective is coming this way. I can choose to contest with him, or I can get interested in what is over there. You know, what is his perspective? So, you notice my body is right next to his. So I'm making a connection. And I can actually feel warm with my body right here. Okay. So, why do we, I used to think this is just a warm-up exercise to loosen our wrists. And maybe not. Maybe it's way more than that. Maybe it's about me connecting with this person. So that, here, instead of this, which is sort of connecting in an opposing kind of way, I bring my arm here, just like we were just doing in Rimi Nagu. I'm looking where he's going and making this connection. So then, when I throw him, my connection stays there. Now, there's martial reasons for that, but there's also the reason of connection. I'm staying with him as he comes around, and then I'm making a connection all the way down. I was talking with my son about that, and he said, yeah, it's like you're showing him, oh, here's a spot for you. I have a spot right over here for you where you'll be safe. Right down here. There. You notice he gives claws there because there's a connection there. You can feel it. Thank you. So, keep track of time here. So I want to talk about how I use that brief example of Aikido on the mat in other settings, using the concepts of connection and still firm boundaries, but I'm still throwing, but I'm connecting the whole way, so I don't have to make an enemy out of that person if necessary. I can, or if possible, I'm going to keep a connection with them as they go. So, I want to tell you a brief story. This is from Indian child welfare, something that I've done a lot in my professional life, working with people who've lost their children and trying to figure out how can we put this family back together? How can we restore that world family one piece at a time? So we had an Indian mother who lost her child. She lost her baby because she had a drug problem. And it would have been easy for us to just get this child adopted out. It would be easy, much simpler. But instead, my social worker, I was working with her, she asked questions to try to understand this family. This is like turning to face the direction where the person is looking. We're trying to figure out what's going on with this person. It turns out transgenerational post-traumatic stress keeps a lot of Indian families from working with their social worker because they're afraid of this. So my social worker reached out. Half a morning she spent making phone calls in order to find the tribe. She found them, Shoalwater Bay up in Washington. That afternoon they sent a social worker down to Santa Rosa where we were. Brought the mother from Redding where she was hiding out. Brought her to court. We went to court that afternoon. The tribal attorney was there. And they said, we'll put all this back together. They stitched out a pattern for how it could work. That night, the judge had shifted dependency to the tribal court. They flew back to Washington. The mom went into a treatment program next door to the foster home, relevant foster home, where the child could be safe while the mother got the help that she needed. Now, this was caused because my social worker reached out and asked the questions to try to understand and put this together in a way the mother won, the child won, the tribe won, everybody won, because community was healed in that process a bit, one piece at a time. So it's a little bit of a stretch, but I think that we can see Aikido principles right there, because we weren't giving up or giving in. We were holding the boundary. This child had to be safe. But we were doing so in a way that made it work for the family. So I want to show you then another example of how I would use those same principles with little children. And I do this, did it about a week ago. I do it pretty often. I have, with your permission, this might be the first time I'm recording and it's on the Aikido mat here. Aikido has a lot to do with safety and boundaries, and learning how to defend boundaries in a good way, how to feel boundaries, how to know when it's safe. I've had a lot of teachers tell me, don't walk down that street if you've got the gut sense that it's not safe. I mean, we don't want to just go there just because we can win a fight. We might choose to pay attention to what our gut is saying and not go in that place because it might not be safe. So, having spent a career mopping up problems that happened because children weren't safe, I now try to use Aikido principles to teach children in a way that does not involve preaching to them. They don't tend to like preaching. They kind of, they shift gears and want to be fiddling on something else when they're trying to do that. So instead, we use fairy tales. Lisa works with me on that. And we use fairy tales, and I'll give a demonstration of something that I do. A tale I told about a week ago at the library was about Henny Penny going to see the king because the sky was falling. And I brought these so you can see that we use kind of beautiful, animal puppets because the children are drawn in by something beautiful. I mean, this is an interesting character. And they look at him and their hands go up because they want to play that. I say, who would like to help? They all raise their hands. So I take a lot of animals because they want to be a part of it. And so we do this thing where one animal after another joins in the story, and they're all marching around. We're going to see the king. When they get to the king, and then fast forwarded, when they get to the king, then something really interesting happens. The king says, well, it was only an apple that fell on your head. The sky wasn't falling. But I'm so glad you came, because whenever you need help, I want you to come and find a helper. And in fact, the king said, I feel so strongly about this that I'm going to sing a song and teach it to you. And so then I have all the children sing this song, where they learn this. Oh, when you need help, find a helper, or a teacher, a firefighter, someone kind and strong. When you need help, find a helper, someone to keep you safe. Then there's another little twist to it about body sensations. Sometimes we get that feeling deep inside. Someone to keep you safe. You too can be a helper, or a brother, or sister, or someone in need. You can be that one who's kind and strong, someone to keep them safe. Now, I have to tell you, that was quite a sight. If you can imagine it in your minds, all these little kids just singing, and there's a baby child of a toddler size like that one here tonight, and clapping, and they're singing, when we need help, we find a helper. So I think that's one way. I use my gifts. I'm a singer and a musician, so I use that. You might have some other gift. You might have some other thing that crafts or whatever that works with kids, but we can weave in to whatever work we're doing out in the community, relevant issues. For me, I want to talk about safety and boundaries for little children. In fairy tales, I'll show them how they can make their life safer. And I believe O-sensei would say, yes, we want to have the kids be safe. And I think any child that comes here to the classes in this dojo and learns body awareness and learns how to be in their body here on the mat is also getting those messages, because we're safer when we're in our body. So that's my sense about how, as I understand it, how I can use Aikido, even if I can't take all the falls, even if I can't do some of those things, I can bring the relevance of Aikido into safer community. And what the neurophysiologists say is that, Stephen Porges especially, when we feel a sense of safety and settled nervous system, our IQ is 25 points higher than when we don't. So if we think of our country as a place where there's a lot of this and a lot of anger and a lot of unsafe feeling, how do we shift toward reuniting the world family? Well, I want to take Aikido out into the community and do things that help people feel safe so they can make good choices and build bridges with each other. That's what I have to present. And if there's any questions or comments, I would love to entertain those or anything that the panel would like to ask.
Anything else? Any questions? Anything you want to see?